justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law Group and find out how we can help get you the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. 877-42-LIBERTY. Liberty Law Group. Trial attorneys you can trust.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Ryan, with all this red and all these people around, I'm still not seeing the tailgate.
Todd Spidell, former body shop owner, terrible driver.
We're getting close. Now, did you know with 3 locations in Lincoln and hundreds of years of combined technician experience, we can get Husker fans back on the road even quicker and safer after their tailgate mishaps? Oh, Todd, turn left right here.
Left or right?
Left, right here.
Right?
Well, you wait for the tow truck. I'm getting a hot dog.
Well, I guess while I'm waiting. All right! Most recommended! Eustace Body Shop! Woohoo!
Dude, you should be on American Idol.
You really think so?
No.
Accidents happen, even to Husker fans. If it happens to you, call Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Nutrition Authority invites you to check out the all-new Epic Effects. Epic Effects is designed to blast body fat, curb cravings, and provide the smooth energy to get you through the day. Home of free samples and better than internet pricing, Epic Effects can only be found at Nutrition Authority. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
A business's phone is the lifeline to its customers and potential clients. That's why it's so important that you can take calls seamlessly from anywhere, whether you're on the road or in the office. Hamilton Business Technologies can help ensure your phone rings wherever you are. We can equip your headquarters and any of its locations with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we know how to keep Nebraska businesses connected. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in back to Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos, and joining me, as he has been pretty frequently here on these Wednesdays, the head coach of the Nebraska men's tennis program, Peter Kobelt. Had great success last year after taking over as from the interim head coach. But if you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685, that is the Starter Heyman text line. You can put a face to the voice, Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo Channel 961. And with the house cleaning out of the way, Peter Kobelt, how's it going on a Wednesday night?
Doing great. Great to be back in the office here, chit-chatting with you. So let's get it going.
Absolutely. And I know DP's kind of asked some of the background stuff, and I want to dive a little bit more into it. And then college football is right around the corner. And I talked to you off air. I know you're a college football guy, so I think we can have some fun with that.
Absolutely.
But first things first, just your background. You may have mentioned it before, but if people are listening for the first time, when did you just first start getting interested in tennis? Where you realized, like, now I'm playing it, you know what, I'm actually pretty damn good at this too.
Yeah. So I get asked that a good amount, but it's a great, for me, it's a great story. But my dad's a tennis coach. He's been in the tennis industry basically his entire life. So there's a picture of me barely born, and they shoved a little small tennis racket in my hands. So I like to say from the very first day, but no, my dad had me playing, from age of 3 or 4 years old, but he did a really good job. And so did my mom of kind of letting me find my love in terms of which sport I wanted to play. Growing up, they let me play everything. I mean, I tried just about everything. I did a year of soccer, a year of wrestling. That went terrible.
You're picking some of the most brutal sports out there.
Yeah, and then I kind of focused in. I played a decent amount of golf, baseball, and then I played high school basketball all the way until I graduated high school. So that's not very common for someone getting into tennis. Usually you try and become a little more sports specific with tennis at a younger age, just because of how complex and the sport of tennis is. But yeah, I mean, I had a passion for sports. And my parents kind of let me do my thing, but tennis was always the sport that was always, in the back of my head, and I knew I was the best at it, and I always had a certain love for it that I could never shake. So that was kind of how it all started. But
how rare is it for tennis players, say like they're 16 and they decide to hop in tennis and they have a great career? Because I know gymnastics is one of those sports where, I mean, you're running into men and girls where I'll talk to some of these athletes. It's like, I started when I was about 6. And if you have meet a gymnast who's at the Power 4 level and they started in high school, it's an absolute rarity. Do you see that in tennis at all, where some people can just pick it up real late and have that type of success, or is it more often than not they got to start early?
I think there's a 0% chance of that happening. So tennis is one of those sports that takes a lot of time. You have to put in the hours. There's a lot of hand-eye coordination that's involved. There's technique. There's just so many things that go into tennis. It's almost impossible to pick it up at the last second. There's some sports where if you're just kind of a freak athlete and
basketball, you see that a lot.
Basketball, and I think maybe even a few positions on the football field where you can just say, hey, put your hand down and go.
Domkin Sue is one of those guys who he had some experience, but it wasn't, he wasn't starting as a child, and he became one of the biggest freaks that he ever came through Nebraska, and should have won the Heisman.
Sure.
If we're being honest.
Absolutely. So no, tennis isn't a sport like that at all. I mean, it's a good thing, and it's also not a good thing, just because it takes a lot. If you want to go down the tennis route, there's a lot of sacrifice, and you have to put in the hours, and you have to practice, and you have to be dedicated, from a relatively early age. I would say, 10, 12 years old is kind of the threshold, the cutoff. Yannick Sinner, the number 1 player in the world, kind of played it casually his entire life, and then once he turned 12, that was when he started taking it seriously. So he's kind of the example for someone who wants to start a little bit later. But usually the tennis stars of the world are playing from age of 4, 5, 6 years old. That's kind of when they're getting introduced to the game. So.
And when do people start separating? Like, how early does that happen in the tennis world? But you can kind of start picking out, like, these guys have a chance to go far, and these guys have a chance for a good high school career and maybe college, but maybe not too much further after that.
Yeah, it's pretty individual. It's on an individual basis, I'd say. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't have any kids, so at least not yet. So it's hard to say from my own experience, but I think you have like a conversation. I think as a parent, you can kind of see which sports your child gravitates to, and sometimes they don't understand how good they are at the moment, and their coaches are like, hey, like, usually it's a coach that's been in the business for a long time. It's like, hey, I think your child has a real good chance to play college tennis. And usually now, if you're a great college tennis player, you have a great pathway to being a professional. There's 15 players in the top 100 now on the men's side. that have ties to college tennis. And if that were a country, if college tennis were a country, we would be the most successful country in the world. So there's a viable pathway through college tennis to the pros. So if if your goal is to play college tennis, Division I college tennis, like there is a pathway for you to become a pro. So I don't think there's a huge rush. I think if you can make it into the college tennis space, whether it's Division I or Division II, Division III, there's a lot of opportunities to be a professional tennis player. I have a lot of great friends that didn't play big time college tennis, but they played college tennis that now they're playing, they're top 30 in the world in doubles, or there's a lot of different ways to make it. But yeah, I think if you're a parent and your child's playing tennis, just keep an eye on them, show up to their clinics and their lessons, go to their matches, kind of see how they handle things. Take advice from the coaches. Obviously, that's what they do. That's their job, is to help and help kids get better at tennis. So they have a lot of say, and they have a really good eye, and they have a lot of connections too with the colleges and the coaches around them. So, but yeah, every case is a little bit individual, I would say.
So then, with your case, Ohio State, like freshman year, what was that jump look like for you going from high school? Now you're playing Power 5 at the time, but Power 4 today.
Yeah, so it was actually very eye-opening. So I was still my senior year of high school. I started on my varsity high school team. So I didn't play tennis year-round until I got to college. So that was the first eye-opening thing, was just the demand that it takes. And then obviously Ohio State was a top 5 program. The year I got there, the year before, they lost in the NCAA finals of the NCAA tournament. So they're coming off the most successful year in program history. So I was stepping into a program with some of the highest standards and highest level for demands in the country. And I was just kind of the local kid that they took a chance on, being from Columbus, Ohio. And I was kind of a low risk recruit. So they said, okay, he's tall, he's athletic, he hasn't focused on tennis too much. Let's get him in the program and let's see if he can grow. And I redshirted my first year there. I didn't play, I just practiced, and I got used to everything. But that was one of the most important decisions that the head coach there and I in our family decided on. That ended up being a huge reason why it gave me just more time to mature and to get used to everything that happens at a top level program like that. So
was it frustrating, even if you knew it was the right decision? Was it frustrating at all? Because even if it wasn't tennis, like, again, multi-sport athlete, like, you're always competing in something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now it's like, okay, now your job is just to practice and be a cheerleader, kind of.
Yeah.
And watch the matches. And I knew I wasn't, after just being at practice for a month or two, I was like, okay, like, I'm not ready to go in there and play. There's a lot of pressure, after coming off a year like that, the job is to get back there again the next year. So I knew that I probably wasn't ready to do that. But at the same time, you got to compete to also improve. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to do, how am I going to get into the lineup if I'm not getting some of the opportunities that some of the other guys are. But I just put my head down and I worked, and I went through some growing pains for sure. It took me a second to figure out kind of my niche on the team. And once I did, it kind of got a little easier. But that year at the front end of things really helped me iron out a lot of things I needed to.
What was the toughest thing to iron out that early at that college level, if you remember?
Yeah, I remember I still had an affinity for basketball. So in the back of my mind, I was just like, did I make the right decision here? Like, because I loved basketball and I was really good at tennis.
Yeah.
I was really good at tennis, but something about basketball always was with me. So that first year, and you could ask my coaches, I would always like, I picked the wrong sport. I didn't, but that was kind of my mindset. So it was just that. And then it was just like the demand every day that our coach put on the whole team, and the level of expectations like that. My parents did a great job raising me, but tennis wasn't viewed like that in the household at the time. It was like, hey, like, this is a great sport, like, you're going to get as good as you can at it. And then at Ohio State, it was like, no, this is a machine. Like, we're here to win. And like, that's what we're going to do here. So it took me a second to get used to those expectations with the game of tennis.
Right.
And that was probably the biggest mental hurdle I had to get used to, was like every day was an absolute war, whether or not you were playing or not. Like, you had to come, and if I didn't practice well, everyone else in the team suffered the consequences for it. So it was the starters and everything. So you had to kind of get into it pretty quick. So I would say those two things were probably the two biggest hurdles when I first got there.
Is it intimidating at all going against those guys? Like, again, that killer attitude. You're just a new world now. And again, Ohio State at that point, as you pointed out, highly respected when it comes to tennis. Or was it just not so much the guys were intimidating, just trying to figure out your own will and want?
It wasn't so much the guys. It was more so the environment that we were put in was very intense. And it was just really, really tough every single day. And if there were any mistakes made by anyone on the team, like, our coach held everybody accountable, whether it was me or the number one player on the team. So I learned really quickly, like, well, if I mess up, then, the guys that are playing in the lineup they're not, they're going to be upset.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to talk to me. They're not, this and that. So I was like, I better do my job. So that was probably the most eye-opening thing, was like, okay, like, my actions, what I'm doing today here at practice, affect the whole team, and affect the camaraderie of the team, affect if we're getting better, or some of these things, like, we just had to work out. And I think that's really one of the reasons why Ohio State has had success, and they've continued to have success since I was there. So obviously the college sports have changed, and you kind of have to modify how you do some things, but that's one of the staples that I've brought here to Nebraska is, we're going to have 3 or 4 new faces on our team this year. And from the very first practice, the expectations are going to be like, hey, this is how we practice. And if you got to get used to it right away. Well, there's no time to waste. We only have so many hours of the week with them, so many days of the year with them. We don't have any time. If we want to keep moving up as a program, as a program, and if we want to have guys that are competing for national titles, Big Ten titles, and going out into the tour, we don't have one day to, like, figure it out. Like, we have to come in guns a-blazing, kind of like how we did it there. And also it has to come naturally for me, and it has to be in my own way as well. So, but yeah, going back to my time there, that was probably the thing I was the most intimidated by, was just the environment that you were in was so cutthroat and so intense every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about your career before, so I don't want to go year by year. I got one more question on Ohio State, and then I do want to get into coaching. What was kind of that breakthrough moment where it's not like, oh, broke through, I'm the best, but in terms of, like, I'm comfortable, I can set myself up for some real success here at this university if I stick to it.
Yeah. So I had a really unique story. It was after my redshirt sophomore year. So I've been in the program for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had, like, a moment where I looked in the mirror and I said, look, I am going to go full out, from here on out, because I still wasn't maybe 100% committed to what I was doing still at that point. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. And I said, all right, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to work this hard, like, I'm going to dedicate myself 100%. So that summer, after the NCAA tournament, I hired my own strength coach for the summer. I got in the gym. I got stronger. I moved down to Florida. I worked with a coach very specific for technique. I had some deficiencies in my game that still hadn't improved while I was at Ohio State. So I sacrificed a lot of my time, and I made some improvements to my game, and I came back that fall, and I had, I went to the biggest tournament at the time in college tennis in the fall, and I lost in the finals. I came out of nowhere and I made it all the way to the finals. I beat all the best players in college tennis, lost in the finals. I went to regionals. I won regionals, so I was the best player in that region.
At what point did they start paying attention to the dark horse? Do you remember?
But it was a little bit the year before I had a really fluky win out of nowhere. And that was kind of what opened my eyes a little bit, and opened my eyes and everyone else's eyes. They had no idea who I was, where I came from. But
okay, and that's where that started.
A little bit. Okay. And then following that spring, that summer, that's when I really bought into this whole tennis thing and seeing how good I can actually be. And then 6 months later, from that first result at All Americans, the preseason rankings came out in college tennis, and I was the number 1 ranked player in all of college tennis. So
was it surreal for you when you saw that? Were you like, this feels right?
I was just like, there's got to be a typo or something wrong. But I was like, wow, for me growing up in Columbus, Ohio, and Ohio State being one of the best universities to play tennis at the time, and then, for a local kid like me to be ranked number 1 in the country, again, there's everyone's ranked, the Virginias, USC's, Georgia's, and for my name to be at the top, I was like, man, so then a whole host of other expectations are placed on you. And now you gotta, now you're on top of the mountain and everyone's coming for you. And so I got to experience both the pressures of not achieving all the things that I want to be doing. And then at the time, like being ranked number 1 in the country, like, hey, like I have to, if I don't train my best every day, like I'm going to lose my spot, and I didn't want to not be ranked number 1 in the country. I wanted to stay there as long as I could. Unfortunately, it lasted for 2 weeks until the next rankings came out, but it was still really cool to kind of see how, like, hey, like I really bought into this. And usually I would say it doesn't happen that fast in our sport, but just for my circumstances and the potential that I had with tennis, it kind of worked out that way. So
yeah, and then I'm sure when you're on that list, the opponents probably got different eyes when they're facing you across the court.
Yeah, now everyone knows who I am. Now everyone knows who I am. Everyone already knew who Ohio State was and what they were doing, but now everyone's like, who's this Kobelt kid? Now everyone's studying you, looking for your weaknesses. How are we gonna beat, because now I'm the number 1 player at Ohio State, and now you get a whole host of different people, fans, enemies, everybody, all the social media people, all, so your life kind of changes pretty quickly. Even in a sport like tennis, there's still a lot of that goes on. I can only imagine what the Dylan Rayolas in the world have to do during football season. They got to throw their phone and lock it away in some lockbox so they don't look at it. But
yeah, I don't know how kids do today with social media.
I mean, it's gotta be insane. But even for a sport like tennis, you're getting, there's message boards, this and like, oh, like he's really not that, or so you got to really be focused. And I got a dose of that at Ohio State. But yeah, I would say, that spring is when I had the first result. I had a really good win over a guy from Virginia, which was one of the prominent programs at the time. And then that summer kind of springboarded me into having a great fall season and then being ranked the number 1 singles player in the country. So.
And now flash forward a little bit to Ohio State. How'd you feel like you finished out with Ohio State? Obviously read it a little bit myself here, but you personally, because I want to get into where the coaching element came from, because I know you had a few stops before as well, before you got to Nebraska.
Yep.
So after Ohio State, when you finished out that year, like what was kind of the mindset of where you wanted to go next?
Yeah. So my senior year, we won our first national indoor title in program history. First national title in program history. It was national indoors. That was a special year for me because I was a captain of the team. And the year before, we lost 5 starters from the team. So, I think everyone thought they had a chance to beat us. We only had 1.5 returning starters. We had a singles guy and then me returning to the team. And that was the team that won our first national championship. So to be able to do that as a senior from a kid from Columbus, Ohio was amazing. Repeat the question for me again.
Yeah, and we don't have to go through all of it, like after the fact, because we've talked about your pro career after,
Sure.
and the better way to phrase this, after that kind of simmered down, like where did coaching start coming into play for you?
Yeah, so I mean, after Ohio State, I went on tour right away, and I played professionally for 6 years, and it was a grind. Like it was really tough. Much different than college tennis. You're on the road by yourself. You're fundraising. You're doing everything for yourself. It takes about 30-40K a year.
Yeah, and you've talked about it. You're betting on yourself the entire time to win.
Yeah, and you gotta get help, or you're asking your family for help. And this and this, so it's tough. But anyway, COVID kind of shut the door on my career. I was beat up. My body was beat up, and I don't know if I would have quit if it wasn't for COVID. So I know COVID wasn't the best of times here for the entire planet, but for me, it actually kind of pushed me in the right direction a little bit. And I stopped playing, and the coach at Kentucky called me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in years, and he asked me if I wanted to come help out and be the volunteer assistant down there. And I thought about it, and I said, yeah. And I moved down to Lexington from Columbus, Ohio, and I started working down there with the guys. So that was kind of my introduction to coaching, and that was a really cool experience. We had a lot of success down there. My second year there, we lost in the finals of the NCAA tournament to Virginia. And, two of the guys in that team now are doing fantastic on tour. Gabriel Diallo, he's 33 in the world. I just went down to Cincinnati to watch him play.
I was just going to ask you still stay connected to a lot
of
those?
Oh yeah. I still talk to him. And then Liam Draxel, he's also, I think he's 120 in the world, and they're both from Canada. All those two guys were on the team when I was there, and I talked to Liam and Gab, once every week or two, and just see how they're doing. Sometimes they'll call me, sometimes I'll call them. I usually call them when I need help with a recruit. But,
rightfully so. Yeah.
Every time I call, they're like, "Oh, what do you need now, coach?" I was like, "Nah, I was just calling to say hi." But yeah. So that was kind of my introduction. I was lucky to be in such a good spot. Cedric Kaufman and Matt Gordon have done a phenomenal job there. They've won the SEC twice now. No, once. They won the regular season in the title, conference title, 2 years ago, and they're one of the prominent programs in the SEC now, and I got to kind of experience the upbringing of that program while I was there. So to have experience at Ohio State, how one program's done something, they didn't do it the same way at Kentucky, do different conferences, Big Ten, SEC. I've got to kind of see two different programs, how they work and how they function, and I think combining the two of them is I think probably the right thing to do here with this program. And each year you kind of tinker with what you're trying to do. But some of the main things will always be the main things, and I've learned both of those from both of those two programs. So
absolutely, and we'll talk more about the coaching career, more specifically. You kind of hinted on already what you learned and what you're bringing to Nebraska, because obviously when you it was interim coach and you had great success there, and then right after they brought you on, and Troy Dannon's only had nice things to say. And I will say, just shout out to Troy Dannon. I think he's done a phenomenal job as AD so far, making sure all our sports have the right people in place to be successful. But we are up to the clock here, so we'll throw it to break. Don't go anywhere. Again, I got the Nebraska men's tennis head coach with me, Peter Kobelt, Harrison Arns. As always, take weeknights on the 1s and 2s. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers, as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at DoorsPlusLLC.com. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for ready-mixed concrete in Lincoln. With 3 plants across the city, there are plenty of opportunities to start or grow your driving career. They offer great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they cover the cost of CDL training. Apply today and receive a $2,500 hiring bonus. Since 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today with ready-mixed concrete. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays, enjoy 40% off boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.39 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today, 68th and O, or in Williamsburg Village.
Looking for a financial partner that truly makes a difference? Modern Woodman is a member-owned fraternal financial services organization. We can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Need service on your home air conditioner? No matter what brand you have, just call Bryant, 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Lincoln's go-to for fun isn't new. It's a place that's been a staple of the city for years and is only getting better. Matson's Bowling and Billiards always has open bowling available with no long lines, unlike other centers. They have live music almost every weekend and great food at EJ's Bar and Lounge, with seating for 150 people. They have popular meals like the EJ Burger, pizza for the whole family, and famous EJ's Wings. Contact Sarah to book a party for friends, coworkers, or family at Matson's Bowling and Billiards, just south of 48th and Holdridge.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Looking for a fun way to give back? Join us for the 2025 Kicks for Kids Nebraska Fun Run Walk, presented by Pinnacle Bank. On Saturday, August 23rd at James Arthur Vineyard. Enjoy a scenic 5K through beautiful grounds. Every step helps provide shoes to kids in Lincoln and Lancaster County schools, with options for adults, wine included, and kids. Registration fees include a t-shirt, medal, and bag. Sign up today and make a difference at kicksforkidsnebraska.org.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in segment number 2. Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Ours on the ones and twos as always. And again, got the Nebraska men's tennis head coach to my left, Peter Kobelt, as he's been joining us more often here on Wednesday nights. You guys are always welcome to join in, join the streams, Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961. Crossed over a lot of the early part of Peter Kobelt's career in tennis. Flash forward past the pro part, since we heard that with DP already. And let's get to the coaching. We talked about Kentucky. Now let's talk about Nebraska. You correct me off air. It was actually Trev Alberts where you got that first interim job.
Yep.
And what was kind of that like when they're obviously the coaching search is about to begin, and how'd that go for you to go for that interim job and give yourself a chance?
Yeah. So I originally came here as the assistant. We finished year one. The head coach at the time, Sean Mimey, great coach. He gave me a chance here at Nebraska to be his assistant, which I'm always super thankful for. He got called up by the University of Michigan, and they hired him late in the summer. And it was, it's getting to the end of the summer, and I kind of saw an opportunity. I was like, hey, like I've always wanted to be a head coach, so this is like an amazing place to be. Like I got to go for this. So I went to Trev, and I went to my boss, and I said, hey, like I can do this. Give me a chance. Give me 1 year to do this. If I mess up, do a terrible job, no harm, no foul. You can do a proper search next year, find a replacement, no big deal. And luckily we had a great year. We finished 17-10, most wins since 1990.
Surpassed expectations.
Yeah, finished 4th in the Big Ten. We beat Illinois, one of our biggest rivals in the Big Ten tournament, to finish to make a semifinal finish there, which was huge. And the only issue was in that spring, that's when Trev Alberts left. He was the guy that gave me a chance, and he left out of the blue.
I was pretty shocked because that was, if I remember correctly, there was kind of some silence.
I don't know. Yeah, so for me, that's way above my pay grade.
Fair enough.
I try not to swim in waters that are too deep for the old tennis coach. But
fair enough. Speculation usually.
But he was great. He gave me a chance. I'll always be thankful. I saw him down at Texas A&M. We played at Texas A&M at the NCAA tournament. We played Baylor, and he was there watching, and he came up to me and gave me a big hug and said how proud he was of me. And I was super thankful. I always said, hey, look, super thankful for the opportunity you gave me. I'll do everything I promised I'd do for you. I'll continue to do for the university. So that was really neat. But anyway, so he leaves, goes to A&M. Troy comes in, Mr. Dannon. I call him Mr. Dannon still.
Yeah, fair enough.
I still earn my stripes here. Yeah, Mr. Dannon comes in, and he does, he wants to know if this is the right coach for tennis. So he comes in and he interviews me basically, and he talks to me, tries to figure out what's my recruiting plan. Tries to figure out if I'm really going to be the right coach. Do we need to open it up? And he ends up, deciding that I'm the right guy for the job, and I turn out to be his very first hire at the university here. So,
and then
pretty cool.
Kind of talks about it off air jokingly a little bit. Pressure being the first hire.
Yeah, well, I think it's self-inflicted pressure.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Dan has been nothing but supportive and understanding of everything that's going on here. He's been super helpful with everything. There's things that I've asked for that I didn't think we would get, and he's giving them to us. So every athletic director, you guys should all know that every athletic director goes on and says we care about every sport here at the university, but they don't always back it up with their actions. And Mr. Dannon is backing it up with his actions, not just for tennis, but for all the sports here at the university. He really wants to win in everything that we do here, and that's not just a cliche phrase. He's done it for us. I know he's done it for other programs. Programs are getting facility upgrades, help in different areas. And he's putting he's talking the talk and he's walking the walk. So a lot of respect for Mr. Dannon. He's got a big time job with a lot of pressure, high expectations here. The University of Nebraska, 8th largest athletic department, most valuable athletic department in the country, big time donors with big expectations, and he's nailing it right now. So but
he
yeah,
came in right in the middle of a big remodel as well.
Yeah,
and that's not an easy, on top of meeting all the coaches. And again, I think it's probably the right thing to do is not just take for word this is the right guy. I respect it, it's let's go interview the guy and make sure he's the right guy for it. But right in the middle of that, obviously the stadium renovations was still a big question, and
sure
he's had to talk about that, and he's been pretty clear at the podium. But I do want to ask you, rewind just a little bit there, the recruiting plan, because as an interim, you got the guys there already, you're taking over. When did it, what's the challenge when it comes to recruiting? And did you already have plenty of experience at your other stops being assistant coach?
That was one of the areas I was the most, I would say, deficient in. I think I have I have a lot of attributes that fit well for a head coach. And I feel like as an assistant coach, you really learn how to recruit and you do the digging and all that stuff. And I was only a proper assistant for 1 year. So I didn't have a lot of experience there, and I really lean on the assistant that we have now, Brett Foreman. He's done a fabulous job there. For me, I've kind of dubbed him the CEO of recruiting. Matt's got a CEO of the offense, CEO of the defense. Brett's my CEO of recruiting. He's kind of the guy that does, makes all the connections and brings the guys to my desk and helps me out with that. But I think as a head coach, you kind of have to figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at. And you have to bring in someone that can help complement you. And I think Brett's done a great job of doing that. But yeah, the recruiting was was never going to be easy. The tennis program has a lot of history here, but it hasn't had the histories of Georgia and Florida and USC. And so, you're always kind of fighting an uphill battle when you get into a recruitment with one of those schools. It's tough. So I knew what the challenges were here. Every school's got challenges, and we have some of the best facilities in the country. We have the training table. We have the life skills. We have so many things now. We have an ATP tournament here in town as well. That's attracting recruits from all over the world. So we're building it up slowly, and we're turning this place into a tennis destination. That's my goal. Is in 5 or 10 years, people look at Nebraska and be like, yeah, that's one of the best places to go play college tennis. Because you're going to get everything you need, and you're going to have a pathway to the Pro Tour, and you're going to compete for Big Ten and national titles. So that takes time. That wasn't the job when I first got it, and that's absolutely no disrespect for the people that came in front of me. The facility that we have here is only because of the Kerry McDermott and what he did in his time here. Finding the money to build something like that's not easy. It's a $22-23 million facility over there, which is beautiful that we have. And Sean Miami, the previous head coach, took the program, went through some really tough seasons, during COVID. I think 1 or 2 years only winning a match or two for the entire season, which is absolutely brutal thing to go through. So when I took over, born on second base, born on third base, whatever you want to say, That's how I felt. The situation was, I felt like I was dropped into an amazing situation, and I'm fine being born on second or third base. I always say, as long as you're not scared to step on home plate, uh, then you're in a great spot. So that's how I see it. I think we can step on home plate here sooner rather than later. And I'm super fortunate to be sitting where I'm sitting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, the DP has a good job of like telling you which sports to pay attention to. And I'll, knock on wood for you. But, he was hanging around with the wrestlers. And then it's like, you see those guys, 2 national champions, and as well as play second overall in the whole thing. And I know he's very, very excited. It's just, and he talks about the facilities. Are you starting to see a little bit of attendance pop up too with some of the success you're having? And again, awesome facilities, great place to go and watch.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. We have an amazing facility. When I first got here, I was surprised how the community had never been there before, or they didn't even know where it was.
Right.
Some of us didn't even know there was a team, and I'm just like, what in the world? So I've spent a ton of time trying to connect in the community, here in Lincoln, and the tennis community all over Nebraska. We're reaching out and trying to do different things to try and grow tennis here and get people in the facility, know where it is, where to turn. It's a little bit tricky getting into the facility the first time you get in there. Something that we're working on for everyone that's also agreeing with me there. But yeah, the attendance was great this past year. We played Baylor at home. We had 283 people there. That was the largest attended tennis match ever in the history of Nebraska tennis. So yeah, I mean, when we can pack that facility out, we're going to be really hard to beat at home, and that's the name of the game. If you can win home matches, you're going to be putting yourself in a position to compete for titles at the end of the year. If you're losing at home, it's going to be a tough season. So we're just like everybody. We're relying on the people here in town, the Nebraska fans, to come out and support us. The matches are free. You don't have to pay a dime to get in the door.
Out there.
This year, we're going to be serving alcohol at the matches.
Oh, okay. Is that new?
Yeah, that's new.
Okay.
All the facilities now. Troy, I think, just announced that all the facilities are going to have a liquor license. So you'll be able to buy alcohol at the events. There's always food. For some of the bigger matches, we do raffles. We raffled off a 45-inch TV. There's iPads, gift cards. We try and up it every year too, to make it even more lucrative to come and watch. And sometimes you've never been to a match. You don't know what you're getting into, and you come and you watch, and like, wow, that was actually a lot of fun. So we need to win.
Yeah,
for people to still come. I think that's a big. No one wants to sit there and watch 2.5 hours and watch us lose. So there's part falls on me, and reaching out to the community is also on me, and getting people more involved with the community. But we need people to come out and watch. It's amazing venue. The guys work really hard. They love and care about Nebraska. They really do. We put an emphasis on that when we recruit. We don't recruit the wrong players here. This is a special place, and it's only reserved for special recruits and players. So they have a deep appreciation for Nebraska. A lot of the recruits are foreign, so they don't understand quite what Nebraska is at the beginning. But one of my most favorite things to do is every fall is to take them around Nebraska, different parts, take them over to the East Campus to the Tractor Museum. So there's a lot of cool things that, there's the Speedway Museum over there, or on the other side of town. There's tons of little tiny things here in town that are really cool, that just signify the history of Nebraska and what makes this place special. So I think once they're here for a year, they truly understand the place that they're playing college tennis is, where they're at and how special that actually really is. So
I will say probably, and I could be wrong on this, but if I was an overseas player, the speed and kindness of the Midwest would be ideal. Going to New York or California, nothing wrong with those places. But again, if I'm foreign, I might be a little hectic and crazy to try to get used to it. And of course, that goes back to recruiting challenges, getting those overseas guys and getting a chance for them to see it. What is the hardest part when you're looking at guys overseas? Is it, just trying to get them on a visit? Because I know even with NIL, talking to some of those athletes, like there's so much more red tape around those foreign athletes that you got to be really sure and certain that you're doing things the right way.
Yeah. So a lot of it is just, there's no correlation to the word Nebraska to anybody overseas. don't know where it is. They don't know what it is. They don't know if it's a city or a state. And that's no knock on Nebraska. That's just how it is over there. So you say New York, you say Florida, you say California, you say Las Vegas. Everyone's kind of familiar with those things.
Mm-hmm.
Even states like Michigan or Illinois, with some major metropolitan cities and in college programs, they're more familiar with states like that. So that's one challenge, is just explaining to them what Nebraska is. And I think as we get better at tennis, that'll take care of itself. But yeah, in tennis, you also have to recruit the junior players or the players to come to college tennis, because you don't have to go the college route to be number one player in the world. Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, you name it. Jannik Sinner didn't play a single point of college tennis, and they're the very best players in our sport. So you have to first convince them that college tennis is the right move for them. And then once they want to play college tennis, then you kind of open up Pandora's box, and they can kind of look at all the different options they have. So then you have to be able to recruit them to Nebraska. So those are kind of the challenges that we have. First world modern problems, all the luxuries that we have here at the university. I'm definitely not sitting here complaining at all. I think the right recruits and the right players with the right mindsets and ambitions and motives are going to realize that Nebraska is a great place to come play.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes time, and we recruit everybody. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy. We talk to, hundreds and hundreds of recruits every year, constantly, and you might only land one. So that's how it goes, but you got to do it. That's the work that's required. And that's what Mr. Dannon is asking from all of us. And that's for sure that's the damn job we're going to do. So.
Absolutely. And on the bright side, and again, this is always me from the outside looking in, you can sell the facilities in terms of, like, if you want to develop and be a great athlete. I know people rave about the training table all the time, nutrition wise. Like, if you want to become a great athlete, there's a lot of resources at the University of Nebraska to help you find that best version of yourself, to make sure when it is time to compete, you have everything in your arsenal as far as nutrition, training, and recovery to make sure that you show out when it's time to do so. With that being said, we got to throw it to our final break here. Again, got the head coach of Nebraska men's tennis, Peter Kobelt, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos as always. We'll talk to you guys in just a little bit.
Looking for a fun way to give back? Join us for the 2025 Kicks for Kids Nebraska Fun Run Walk, presented by Pinnacle Bank, on Saturday, August 23rd at James Arthur Vineyard. Enjoy a scenic 5K through beautiful grounds. Every step helps provide shoes to kids in Lincoln and Lancaster County schools, with options for adults, wine included, and kids. Registration fees include a t-shirt, medal, and bag. Sign up today and make a difference at kicksforkidsnebraska.org.
M Suits Clothiers, Lincoln's favorite men's store. Family owned and operated, located 1 block south of 56th and Pine Lake Road. Go bold this summer and fall with endless possibilities. Stop in now for the best selection on sweaters, outerwear, suits, sport coats, dress pants, and dress shirts. M Suits Clothiers, your menswear store.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. Visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at SartorHeyman.com.
Sartor Heyman Jewelers.
Harvest season is on the way, and it's time to gear up and save at Acres Equipment. Right now, get 15% off select combine parts to keep you up and running through the harvest season. And when you visit your local Acres store, you'll get exclusive in-store discounts for even more savings. That's right, Acres is offering you special discounts to maximize your dollar. Stop in today and make this year's harvest run smoothly from start to finish. Don't wait. This offer ends August 31st.
Keep summer green with Judson Baleen and Judson Irrigation. More than 40 years ago, Judson Irrigation started taking in orphans. Lawn sprinkler systems installed by a quickie, cheapy summer job, install them and forget them outfit, long forgotten. Call Judson Irrigation. They'll never forget you.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on being the best at one thing and getting it right every time, which is why every hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken finger meal we serve is made just for you.
Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
You're invited to Valentino's big jumbo anniversary party, and we've got a gift just for you. On Thursday, July 31st, only buy one jumbo 16-inch pizza at a regular price and get a second pizza free. Hamburger or cheese pizza only on original crust. It's our way of saying thanks for sharing Valentino's tradition for over 68 years. Celebrate with a slice of Valentino's tradition on us. Pre-orders start July 30th, online, by phone, or in person, and the offer is good for July 31st only. Carry out or delivery at participating Valentino's locations.
When you're outdoors beneath Nebraska skies, adventure comes in all sizes. From quick escapes and long weekends to true off-the-grid retreats. Paddle, hike, camp, explore. Whether you have a few hours or a few days, we'll guide you to a state park or recreation area that's a perfect fit. Start your next adventure today at yournebraskaparks.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment. Again, got the Nebraska men's tennis head coach, Peter Kobelt, and he's also a college football fan as well. So we're going to wrap it up with some college football. We're going to do, me and Jeff are going to talk about this more in the next hour. We're going to go conference by conference, but we'll stick to the Big Ten here. Let's do college football playoff wedding crashers. And I know you and me, we ironically both watch. Shout out to Joe Klatt. I love his show and changed up his days a little bit. But if you've heard that, this is where we're kind of coming from. I want to get your thoughts. I have some teams in mind. Give me the wedding crashers in the Big Ten. Teams who, because I think, about 4 teams are probably most likely to make it into the college football playoffs again. 3 if it's a really tumultuous year. Give me the teams that are not Ohio State, Oregon, or Penn State that you think can break through the door.
Yeah. So first of all, I soak in all the college football podcasts. I watch it all. I watch all the interviews from the coaches. I love it. I love to know what they're thinking. The personalities on the staff. As a coach, I'm always trying to learn from everybody and get everyone's take, even from in other sports. I think I just love sports in general.
Quick side tangent. You want to steal the Matt Rule walk around with the player interview idea, or you're just walking around 50
I've
minutes?
seen a couple of those. I kind of like it.
I like them a lot.
I think you just get for a minute, you just listen to Matt kind of go with it. It's not scripted. It's not prompted. He's just with one of his guys in the team. Sometimes it's just him and just talking to the camera. I think it gives you a different view of him and how personable he is and, the job that he's doing. All the reports coming out are, people are, this is the most disciplined team they've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe you just if you want to win, just don't be bad. Like, don't do bad things. Don't jump off sides. Don't, do
what you practice.
Yeah. Like, have good habits, do the very basic stuff the right way. And from what I hear, like, he's all over those small little details. And I think that's how you're going to get those extra 2 or 3, 4 wins. Everyone says we've been losing how many games by less than 7 points. I think it's just by doing the little things that some coaches overlook, like doing those things extremely well. I think that's how you clog a few of those holes. So anyway, that kind of gives it away. I think Nebraska has a chance to be a sleeper for the college football playoffs. I went on the show 2 weeks ago and I said they would be 11-1. So if they're 11-1,
they're in.
Then they're definitely in. That's for sure. But if it wasn't Nebraska,
and by the way, I don't think that's not even like a biased answer because there's plenty of people out. I mean, it's set up. It's you believe it, but still need to verify it. But I mean, there's a real reason why it's not just Nebraska fans looking at Nebraska with a little more keen eyes this year.
Sure,
not the most biased take. It's pretty national at this point.
And I think if you were to look at the team this year, just before the season even starts, and I think last year they relied more on their defense than their offense to win them games, and I think it might be a little bit reversed this year. I think they're going to rely a little bit more on their offense than their defense potentially. So I think it's a new team. I think obviously Matt's excited about the team. He wouldn't get online, and talk to everyone and blow smoke up everyone's backside if he didn't and say all these things about the team if he actually didn't like it, like the guys that he had. So I really truly believe that he does, and he knows what has to be done every day at practice to win. Like, come on, like if anyone's doubting that, then they're crazy. So I believe that they're going to have a great year. I don't know what that means in terms of win-loss columns, but they're going to take another step forward. I can feel it. You have the inkling as a coach. You just kind of know, and seeing some of the guys walking around the training table, they look bigger, stronger, than they've ever been. They've ever been since I've been here. So I personally think they got a chance to make the playoffs for sure. The season's long. People are going to have to stay healthy in a few positions for sure if these things want to happen. So that the health, you can't predict that stuff. That's going to be a big one for them for sure. I don't know if they're too deep in every position quite yet, but that's obviously one of the goals for the program for sure is that. But Nebraska is going to be one. I hate to say it, but probably Iowa has a chance. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but they're always tough to play at home, and this is a conference where you got to be good in November and you got to be good at home. If they do those things, then I think they'll have an outside chance. I think it's more of an outside chance than Nebraska. And then, like you were saying off air, Joel Klatt seems to think Washington, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
I don't know about Washington. I don't know, Joel.
People are really hanging on to that 20 home game win streak. And because again, Georgia has the number 1 home streak record right now, and Washington's second. And basically, the idea is it's a long shot, but everyone just kind of scoffed at Kurt Cignetti preseason when he was talking big game, and that's another team that we'll have to wait and see what they do. But yeah, I mean, it's just part of college football now. I don't know if it's because of NIL. I don't know if what exactly is happening, but it feels like there's just a lot more teams that are a lot closer to the top than they used to be. Because even a team like Michigan, who you might have been super down on, they beat Ohio State and then they finished the year beating Bama.
Yeah,
it's just kind of it's super hard to predict. Before we get out of here, you got any other dark horses that you like? Because even last year's crazy. I think Arizona State was picked dead last in the Big 12. We all know how that ended up. They ended up hosting, and they almost beat Texas to win it. And they got everybody coming back. And then Tennessee will be interesting with the new quarterback in there. I think they're still trying to have a little bit of a battle there, who it's going to be. Anybody else before we get out of here that you think it can be a long shot? Dark horse?
I think Arizona State might be slightly overrated. I really like their head coach. I think he's one of the best up-and-coming head coaches in the game.
What if I told you they're replacing 2 guys on offense and 2 on defense?
Yeah, but the guys they're replacing on offense, one of them is the reason why they were there.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
I think that he, in the game, in the playoff game that they played, I think he was the only offense that they had.
Sam Levitt probably had his worst game of the season. I will give you that.
So we'll have to see how they do without him, but another dark horse, I don't know. Probably someone from the SEC, maybe like an Auburn or
Hugh Freeze. Yeah, they could be fun. South Carolina is interesting.
Maybe an Ole Miss or a South Carolina. Some of those teams, but I don't know. We'll see. That's why it's fun to watch.
On the bright side, we don't have to wait that much longer to watch either. Appreciate it as always. That's Peter Kobelt, head coach of the men's tennis program, and also a college football fan at that. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk some more college football. Me and Jeffrey Calhoun on the next hour. Appreciate you guys listening. Don't go anywhere.